and I'm going to say this, and I hope everybody listening to this pings me on my LinkedIn and said, thank you. You've got some of the most brain dead people in Congress trying to make these laws that they have no. I've been in front of congressional folks and I've talked to them. I've handed them copies of my book. Said, you or your people need to read this and learn about what this does and how this does and what these do and why you're doing it.
Where can humans never be moved from?
Restroom attendant? Joke. I got you both laughing. Good. I don't want AI to ever replace anything when it comes down to the day-to-day, the real-life activities that we have where we need social interaction with each other. So I think your question resonates because it goes into so many different points. Wow, I can start doing shadow puppets over here. Sorry about that all. You gotta love it when it hits 39 degrees. We were talking about fine. Global warming had a bad media rep.
It was bad.
Come to Wisconsin for that.
Creating a warm and engaging narrative for your podcast. Consider Great Tell Me as a suggestion that combines an upbeat and inviting spirit without any background music. Welcome to Tangelic Talks, your go-to podcast from Tangelic, where we dive into the vibrant world of clean energy, development, sustainability, and climate change in Africa. We bring you inspiring stories, insightful discussions, and groundbreaking innovations from the continent making waves in the global community. Tune in and join the conversation toward a brighter, greener future. Let's get started.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Tangelic Talks, a podcast at the intersection of energy, equity, and empowerment with your co-hosts, Victoria Cornelio and Andres Tamez. Today's episode, we're digging into one of the biggest questions shaping the future of climate action, how AI is transforming the climate and sustainability sector, and where we need to be, in my opinion, careful. But we've got Chris Carter here, Chairman and CEO of Apro Eo, a global technology services company operating at the heart of large-scale enterprise systems. And he's going to help us understand if we need to be careful, if we need to be optimistic, all the things, hopefully. Chris is widely recognized for using data and emerging technologies to boost efficiency, improve decision-making, unlock better business outcomes, and he brings a critical perspective on what automation can and can't solve. Thank you, Chris, for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited. This is going to be fun.
Oh, I'm so happy you made it.
Me too. I have negative 37 degrees outside. There's our climate. There's some of our weather. There's some of the technology changes that are going on right now behind
There we go. See? Very current. I like it.
Yes.
I guess, how did you, I am always interested to know how people got into the intersection they're in, because this is a podcast all about the intersection. And I guess AI is a new thing, but technology itself, bridging into business, into sustainability, innovation. How did you find yourself here?
Well, I found myself here a few years, actually many years ago now, because technology runs in data centers, and data centers are all about what we need from fuels, from batteries, from air, from sustainability, to the energy cost.
Yeah.
I found myself doing a lot of research. And when I say
you're the epitome of resource intensive.
Very resource intensive. So I was using my tools, and then everybody started getting into my machine learning, which became AI. And then I started using my AI tools to get into a lot more research. And it's interesting because data centers is what everybody needs in order to keep using their iPhones and their Androids and their computers and all their chat GPTs and Geminis. Mm-hmm. It's funny, when I started talking with more and more of just, I'll say, everyday people, they didn't know what we all had to do, what we had to use, what was the power consumptions, what was the water consumptions, what was the heating and cooling structures. So I really started to go into detail on that. And that's where my technology and my intersections, I had so many different intersections coordinating. I still have every day between my technology and my data center activities and my EV-based activities with solar power. And I've got an intersection with technology and what we're doing with cloud computing. So there's so many different intersections out there that people need to start looking at and start being aware of.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, you mentioned that the everyday person doesn't really know, the power consumption, water consumption, all these things. Do you reckon that's by design, or is it because it's so hard to understand? Is it a marketing issue that we're not telling people? Like, why don't we know?
That's a great question. Because when I bring this up with my parents, my folks will think that, oh my gosh, you're using so much power to run these things. And my dad doesn't even like to use a cell phone. We finally got him out of the flip phone and got him into an Apple phone several years ago, which was amazing. Technology is funny. You can't get him on an iPhone. But at the end of the day, I think it's a combination. People don't want to know. People don't know. You get folks that are out there that are so loud about one side of it that they don't bring the real truth to some of it because that's not their agenda. And then you have the other side where it's such a benefit, it's such a huge need that they just want to build and they want to get it up and they want to do the activities and they want to provide for people. And I'm a helper. At the end of the day, I'm a nurturer, I'm a grower. I want to help people. So I want to get things up and going as quickly as possible in the most efficient and effective ways possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a loud, boisterous person. I'm not going to sit in a board meeting and pound my fists on the table. You can't do this. You can do this. You must do it. I'm not doing that. I leave that for other people who want to be loud and obnoxious. I'm going to give facts and I'm going to state what's out there. I'm going to state the obvious, and then I'm going to go deeper and deeper. So I think your question resonates because it goes into so many different points. Wow, I can start doing shadow puppets over here. Sorry about that all. You gotta love it when it hits 39 degrees. We were talking about fine. Global warming had a bad media rep.
It was bad.
Come to Wisconsin for that. But I digress. So it is a number of different touch points on there that if you just change the dynamic 1 degree, or all of a sudden, people are going to want to build hundreds of data centers because they're so important. All of a sudden, they're going to want to use nuclear and natural gas because it is so prevalent and it's so much safer nowadays and so much better compared to coal-fired and so on and oil and gas. Or then you're going to get people with water activities. People don't understand that 99 point some percent of the water used inside of a data center is reclaimed water. It's potable water. It's reclaimed. They don't realize. It's so funny. I was at an event in our local state here. We've got a number of different data centers that are being proposed, and somebody's yelling at the top of their lungs, "We're going to lose our water table!" And I looked at them, and they were literally just in front of me and two people over. And I whispered to the guy next to me, and I goes, "He doesn't understand that the water is reclaimed water. Does he even know what reclaimed water is?" And he heard me and he spun on his heels. He goes, "What do you mean reclaimed water? What is reclaimed water? I don't understand what's going on. Why doesn't anybody explain this to me?" And the gentleman had to be at least in his upper 70s.
Wow.
And that's what I do in a lot of these board meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to go to them because I have to present PhD level information. And I'm the type of person that likes to bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very common individual. I'm very salt of the earth. I'm very blue collar. I was raised that way. It just so happened I went off to college and became educated. I got lucky.
Yeah.
I want everybody else to understand it the way I do. Mm-hmm. And so I stood up and I asked a question. And I said to the board that was out there listening, and I was not affiliated with anybody pitching this data center.
Okay.
I said, I just want to make one note. You guys have been talking about water. I heard about 15, 20 people come up here and talk about water and the water table. I said, once you put that water in for the first and only time, it's like filling your swimming pool.
Okay.
Now it becomes reclaimed. The systems that they put in place cool the back of the computers and they go through a reclaiming process. And so it keeps getting reclaimed within the system. You're not pumping a whole swimming pool with the water in every single day. And the cool thing with that is you also get cooling aspects by wind and activities that come through, like in Wisconsin, or perfect one is Las Vegas. They have a great facility. It's called Switch.
Okay.
They have airflow coming through, and that airflow gets trapped into the filters and the activities. So it helps with cooling using the water, and it gets reclaimed. So now water droplets do get reclaimed. And I started to explain some of this stuff. And literally at the end of the meeting, I got pulled aside and people started asking all these different questions about it. I said, guys, this is why you need to have people have conversations. And we need to talk, not yell at each other. Let's have a basic conversation. And I said to the sir, I said, sir, you're probably the same age as my dad. I said, are you 77? He goes, well, yes, I am, young man. I said, well, thank you for calling me a young man, but let me explain to you what this does. And we literally had the same conversation between he and I. Nobody argued. Nobody raised their voice. And he walked away going, I never knew that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When you help educate people, and I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if it's stuff that's going on in the world today, if it's the data centers or if it's other, when you have normal conversations and you simply educate each other, people are very smart in one area, may not be in another. I'm horrible in HR. You wouldn't get me doing any HR. So I'm going to have a conversation with great HR people. But when it comes to technology, I'm pretty darn good at it. So I like to help people with that.
That's really cool. And you sound very much like a tech optimist, but also not one that is, well, pardon my language, but up your ass, You're very much like the innovation is exciting because, right?
Yes.
Do you understand why people are scared though?
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, yes, sir. Hell, I'm still afraid of AI. I think, because to be honest, I have a philosophy that we have not even gone. I'm a baseball guy, so I love baseball. Don't like the Willie Peralta trade, but that's a different story for a different day. I think that from an AI perspective, we have not even gone into the clubhouse and changed into a uniform to start batting practice yet.
Thank you.
It's so fresh and so new. I cannot wait for the Terminator because I think the Terminator is going to be here in about 20 years.
Probably 10. I think one of the things is a big misunderstanding of the issues, because AI, well, right now at least, AI is not the scary thing, right? The scary thing isn't even the data centers, even though they have their big issues. They really, really do. It is the fact that it's the arms race. It is the on a global scale, we have to beat China. Beat them to what? We don't know, but we have to beat China. And on the national sense, you have every single company just implementing so much with complete disregard because they need to stay at the cutting edge.
Yes.
Because if they're not on the cutting edge, then they will fall behind. But that is going to generate so much e-waste and so much electricity just boomed.
And they don't even know what is cutting edge. They literally have no idea.
Absolutely.
That's why that MIT, there was an MIT document that came out probably 6 months ago now, where it said that 93% of all AI projects, enterprise AI projects, fail. And I read through that thing, soup to nuts. Whoa. And I looked at it and I said, well, I know exactly why these fail. You've got somebody over here that said, I need to do AI. And they said, find me an AI project. And you had somebody over here that says, oh, I play with AI. I can do an AI project. What do you want it to be? And then you read through and they're like, well, wait a second. Why are you using Canva for finance? Why are you using this? Why are you using, I'm like, guys, gals, come on. Who's
running the ship at this point?
You definitely don't want the CEOs running the ship.
Oh, absolutely. So many resources put into what essentially seems like like stock bait, like market bait, right? And that is the danger. AI is a cool technology. Now, at the point it is right now, what the CEOs want it to be is not what it is. It's just not. But like because like I have a friend. He works like for the power grid, and they're like, here's AI, use it. And it's like, you're giving me AI for a problem that does not exist. I have proprietary tools that are right 100% of the time. They've been right 100% of the time for the last like 20 years I've been here, right? Like, why am I going to ask something that could possibly give me the wrong answer or hallucinate? Like, why are we implementing this here? It doesn't make any sense.
I tell people if they want to use AI, great. If you're going to use it for writing emails and all that kind of stuff, use Gemini, use ChatGPT, whatever the case may be. If you're going to use funky pictures, nano, banana. But if you're going to use it in the real world, in ERP and in business sense, here's what you got to do. Decide what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use it to write code and you're going to be like, I'm a code monkey. I call myself a code monkey because that's how I started. I would write code all the time. Now, back 40 years ago when I started, that would have been great to have. But what you need to have is you need to use either Snowflake or Perplexity or SAP Joule or any of these tools that can validate your code and help you write code, and then you work together on it.
You hear that, Microsoft? You hear that?
Yeah, Microsoft. Your Copilot is at times with code.
Well, Windows 11 is broken on every level. The new update broke notes when
Yes.
like the notepad broke.
Yes.
That's crazy. It's a
How
vibe
do you
coded
not
operating
validate that? I almost swore. How do you not validate that stuff before you even send it out to the world? Just because you want to put it out there, make sure validate. That's why we mandate our staff. If you're on the code team, you must validate your code through. We've got 2 different systems that we use, and we validate our code there. If you're not as part of the code team, then you've got other tools you can play with and you can utilize and help you from a sales and marketing, an HR, a finance, whatever the case may be. And my new one, anti-gravity from Google. You want to talk about something that is going to start revolutionizing what we do and how we build and how we code and how we build apps and activities. Google has got their SHIT together. People are saying in the last several months, we're in an AI bubble. Oh, Google's not in an AI bubble. Between Gemini kicking the crap out of ChatGPT these days, and anti-gravity and that tool set and that dashboard and what you can build inside that.
The market itself does seem to be a bubble, but the winners are already starting to come out. Like some of them will survive, right?
Oh gosh,
and
yes.
it'll be really good. Like OpenAI is crashing and sinking, apparently.
They're hurting.
According to some whistleblowers.
Yeah.
But you have people going to Gemini, right? And that was a big fear that OpenAI had because the move from OpenAI to Gemini was so fast.
Yes.
And this is after they purchased all of the capacity of RAM for the next, like, what was it, 2 years?
Next 2 years is all going to them. Yes.
Which has huge ramifications environmentally. It has huge implications for consumer electronics and for consumer rights.
It was just an article, or not an article, I'm sorry. Well, actually, it was an email, but it was also on CNBC just yesterday alone. Kelly Evans on the Midday Show talked about that, on how the price of this laptop, your iMac, your cell phone, all these things literally get ready for a 30% bump because all of that got taken away. And it's just one of those things where just overnight but you made a great point. And I'm going to go back to this point. You made a reference point in regards to how fast it took to go from ChatGPT to Gemini. Well, you know what could be even faster is all of us going from Gemini to the Chinese-based AI tools. They can do it without NVIDIA chips. They're doing it with us. And they've got a whole process that's broken down now. What they do is they don't boil the ocean. They boil subsets of the ocean of data. So instead of, let's say, 650 trillion data points, it's only 60 trillion. And it's incredible. There's I apologize. I forget the magazine that I was reading through. And they literally had graph charts next to each other. United States cost over here. Chinese cost was over here. And it's because they've got a completely different model.
That's because in the United States mind, they're in the space race, but in in China, they're just doing what they do, right? They're not trying to being at that cutting edge that they don't barely understand is very expensive. Very, very, very expensive.
We're in the bleeding edge, they're in the cutting edge.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah.
But they're catching up. It's incredible how fast they're catching up over there. And now there's one of the companies in China actually has a Chinese subsidiary and a U.S. subsidiary. And the U.S. subsidiary is growing as fast as the Chinese subsidiary because all of the folks over here see that and look at it and play with it. And they're like, wow, let's jump into this.
Oh my gosh. Do you see AI shaping where capital flows? Like, for example, improving risk modeling, forecasting, performance tracking, all the good things people talk about that rely on data centers and all the bad that we're talking about.
Oh, yes. It's part of the ongoing evolution. And it absolutely is and will, and it will get better and better. And everything, there's good, bad, and ugly. And you got to make sure that you weed out and make sure that from your standpoint what you're doing and what you need. And I hope others do that as well. Don't take everything for face value. Utilize the tools for those activities back and forth. But absolutely, this, like I stated earlier, we haven't even gotten in the dugout to put on our uniform to go hit batting practice yet with AI. Mm-hmm. So, if we're lucky enough, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. No.
I was just going to say, if we're lucky enough next year, we're going to have our uniform on and start throwing pitches, warming up our arms, and everything is going to keep growing and evolving. And it's fun to see. We're on the new industrial revolution. You guys are way too young. I started out on a Commodore VIC-20. I started out on a Commodore VIC-20, an Apple IIe, Atari 80. I can still remember when I had a basic Atari as a video game system. My thumb still hurts from the little button as I back and forth. And nowadays, look at what we can do with all these things. And it's almost, I got those when I was 15 years old, and now I'm 50, almost 57. So, it's 40 plus years, and now we're in a new revolution, a new industrial revolution. And these are cyclical, and things got good, things got crappy, then good, and look at
ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Is that where your optimism comes from? The fact that you've seen so many years of technology and innovation sort of reshaping how society acts, basically?
That's a great question because I've lived through this one. I wasn't through the Industrial Revolution. I wasn't old enough, but I've been in the beginning of the technology revolution, and I've seen us going from computers that looked like they were the size of my trunk, laptops that were the size of this entire table that I'm on right now. I used to have to use 2 floppy drives, one for the application and then one for the operating system. And I've seen these activities, and I've seen how people like using it, and they like to grow, and they like to educate themselves. When you get people that are excited for these new tools, like the three of us, we're excited to use these. We're excited to learn about them. We're excited to be able to be a helper and grow the ecosystem as a part of this. And if you're scared of it, that's not a good thing. Don't be afraid, but become mindful and knowledgeable and help others. That's why I love to help. That's my goal now that I'm old enough, more mature and starting to retire, is I'm trying to help others to be better with the tools, be better with life, be better and guide them up ladders of success and knowledge of success and activities around that. So,
yeah, definitely. That's so interesting because is this a different kind of scare to when people thought computers were going to take over? Or is that just our fear as humans? Like everything's going to take over.
Hey, my biggest fear was 1999, December 31st, 1999.
Oh,
I was sitting in a data center in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was scared crapless. I'm going, what are we going to do? And for the most part, we all thought we had fixed everything and things were going to be fine.
Right.
But the software itself nobody thought of the software and building it for the age. And that was a scary night. And I didn't get much sleep, lots of coffee. And we all came out fine with that. What I do get worried about is now with some of the things that you can build, design, and do with these apps and with the use of AI, there's always bad actors in the world. I worry about somebody hacking any grid, electrical power grid, whatever the grid may be. I worry about somebody hacking any internet grids. I worry about somebody going off the deep end and saying, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way through the dark web to get to missile sites or to military sites. Those are the things. But for the most part, and I'm going to knock on wood, we've got some darn good people that are on the forefront of a lot of different countries around the globe that are very protective of those pieces. So I'm not as concerned that way.
I'm so conflicted about your optimism because I I'm optimistic. I run local AI models, right?
Why?
Like I
I love them.
and I yeah, and I enjoy them. My problem is it's not just like the level of bad acting from not like people look at the AI, people talk about the AI, and I think that's the big problem because the AI isn't the problem. The problem is the people.
People
Um,
are the problem.
and even the CEO of Palantir himself has admitted, we're probably not us. The CEOs are probably not the people that should have the regulatory or like the say on
The
where AI
oversight of it.
goes, but
Exactly.
they do.
Yeah.
And you have stuff like one of the most recent things, one of the Trump kind of schizo tweets of like
Yes.
eliminating all of the state, basically
All
eliminating
the
the
states
state's
to be
right to
able
say
to,
no
yes,
or to regulate
that's a
where and
federal,
how.
not state level, because if the federal is
Yes.
different than the state and the state, then you have all this differentiation. And uh, to be honest, I wish there was a federal regulation. There's not. What we still go back to the old internet, what is it, 701 or whatever that is, in regards to the internet privacy laws. That is so old and archaic. And it's like people, and then you get, and I'm going to say this, and I hope everybody listening to this pings me on my LinkedIn and said, thank you. You've got some of the most brain dead people in Congress trying to make these laws that they have no. I've been in front of congressional folks and I've talked to them. I've handed them copies of my book. Said, you or your people need to read this and learn about what this does and how this does and what these do and why you're doing it. Because you're voting on this for mankind. Because what the United States does, everybody else tends to follow. Because we are supposed to be the leaders of this. And it actually came out of Davos yesterday. The United States is the leader in AI. If you look at the types of companies, China is very close second, and you got others, blah, blah. But if you were going to lead from the front and we're going to be true leaders, our leadership needs to be to protect everybody with these activities. And so with some of the people, I'm not going to say her name, but let's just say she's made millions and millions of dollars out of stock trades, and people follow her stock trades religiously. What an imbecile. What an imbecile. She has zero idea, and she talks in circles when she talks about it. And there's a reason why I have no hair. I've literally done this talking to some of them. And it scares me because they look at what we're doing. One side of their mouth says, oh, it's great for everybody. It's great for humankind. And the other side of their mouth, all they want to do is wait for the next stock trade. They're not there to protect us.
No, like it's very interesting because you have you look at, for example, Jensen Huang, and you look at, for example, Alex Karp, and you look at
Alex is a great guy.
OpenAI CEO.
Sam Altman.
Yes, and I understand where they're coming from, but then I look around at the world, and you have that one example, a very funny example with Lisa Su, the CEO of AMD, and amazing woman, one of the women who I most respect. But everybody's sort of become blind for the shareholders when it comes to the AI craze.
I was just going to make a reference of where you were going with that. They're beholden to their shareholders or to become IPO'd shareholder.
And a lot of the things is a big problem is, like, they ask her, like, is this one of those things where we implement first and find an application for it later? And you could see her pause. It's just like, of course not. Of course not. We already have so many applications for this. Like, come on. That's not the case. And you see it in the way they behave, right? Like, why are people laying off employees? It's not because the AI is actually replacing them. It's because shares, like the stock value goes up because shareholders are kind of ignorant, and they really don't understand. They think like the operation of the company is going down, but the value is going up because there is a disconnect between what is happening in the real world and what people imagine is happening and what they want to happen, which is that, oh my God, we need way less employees. This is awesome.
Well, it's not that they necessarily need way less employees. They do need less, but what they need is bigger, better, faster, stronger employees who can use these tools. And that's where, between the university systems, I've been very fortunate. Last year, I spoke at over 50 different universities and colleges around the United States, Canada, and some in Europe. And I tell these young people all the time, you can't just start like I started 45 years ago. You can't just be a code monkey. You can't just come in and hope that you're going to learn everything anymore. Because even though that's a great thing for young people, is to just learn that way, you've got to be able to use these tools. You've got to come in knowing what these tools are. You need to know Snowflake, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini. You need to know these because people are going to ask you that. And I have this philosophy. It's the bigger, better, stronger, faster human being that's going to create bigger, better, faster, stronger, more efficient companies. And if we as a human, we are the final say. No machine will ever have what we have up here with our brain and our eyes to be able to see. No machine will ever have empathy. We have to have these tools and traits as humans, keep them, nurture them to be able to use these tools. And as we use these tools, grow and help others to grow and use these tools. Like I keep saying anywhere I go, help push people up the ladders of success with knowledge, because we own that. If we can help with some empathy and pushing people up, that's where we're going to keep that lead.
There's a problem, and my problem is empathy. And a lot of the AI startups are just that. AI startups, their whole point is to, it's a pump and dump essentially, right?
A very good analogy. Thank you.
And so I have a friend, for example, right? He worked at NVIDIA, and at this point, he's approaching 40, and he's like, this is too much of a young man's game. It's too intense to work at NVIDIA. It is just too intense. It's just not realistic for me to be here. I have to leave. But the difference is NVIDIA is one of those few companies in the tech space that actually values their employees. So he got a lot of value during his 15 years. And NVIDIA doesn't fire employees en masse. Other companies do. And so he is leaving, and he is leaving and tired, and he's only 40. And he's in the best of the situations. Imagine like a lot of these smaller companies that don't really care about human capital at all, right? You have a crisis for people that work in computers. I think they're twice as likely to be unemployed as art majors at this point, like people that work in computer science.
I don't know about that. Art major. As much as I love my art collection, I don't know about that. See, I'm going to challenge you on this one though. I'm going to be 57 this July. I still work 18 plus hour days because I love what I do. I love learning the technologies. I love growing the company. I will be up for my European team. I'll be up for my Asian team. I'll be up for I will literally do code wars with some of my staff. Okay, guys and gals, let's do it. Let's jump into a code war. We need to each build an app for X, Y, or Z. Let's go. Let's have some fun. But I'm a little bit different on that regard as well. My children, my wife, they all know that I love tech and I love being a part of it. I've always either worked for somebody in a very small degree at SAP, or I've run my own companies. So it gives me that latitude. And I just love to be a part of it. Now, I've gotten tired. I retired for 2 years at one point in time and just kind of walked away and just did nothing but sales. But I came running right back. I wanted to be part of technology. I love being, and so I'm a different animal, I guess.
I do think that yeah, exactly. I love you and your enthusiasm and that you really enjoy it, a lot of people were told to go into IT because it would be a stable career. Like
Yeah.
they're not
God,
exactly there
yes.
to bring in like they're not they're passionate about technology, don't get me wrong,
Yes.
right? But they wanted a
It's
9 to
not their
5.
joy. It's not their
It's
love.
not their joy.
I love what I do. For them, it was a
Yes.
job. I love this. This isn't for me. This isn't a job. This is my life. And I get where people are at with that. Oh, you and I have got the same types of friends. I've got friends all over Silicon Valley that have just said, you know what? Screw SAP, screw VMware, screw this EMC. I am done. I'm going to take my stocks and I'm going to walk away for a while. And then they come back. You know, I've got one that left VMware when they got purchased by Michael Dell and all of them. Took a sec, opened up a coffee shop, and loves. He's in there every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then he's got staff, and then he goes and sits. And he's a great guy. Don't fault him at all for it. Hell, someday I'm going to be the guy sitting on his bench drinking coffee every morning at 6 a.m. So I have zero problems with people doing that at all. Let them enjoy their lives. That's what God gave us the ability to do. If you don't love it, find something else. I'm sure he's got a great stock buyout from NVIDIA.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing he said. Is like, well, the good thing is I'm rich, so, like,
As
yeah,
Rick James once said, "I'm rich, bitch."
Yeah, well, you know, like
Love that.
that's one of the good things about those really big legacy companies and like the some startups, not all of them, is
Oh,
that
no, not all of them. Yeah.
no, yeah, definitely not all, but they give you a good compensation package that includes stock, and if it includes stock, then I think that includes your enthusiasm because now you're part way. You actually have ownership.
Yeah, you get that puppy vested after 3 years, and you make sure that you stay vested. Enjoy what you're doing. Work your arse off. Anybody can work their arse off for 3 years to get a vested stock. And then by that time, that 3 years, you knock on wood and hope that it's one of Silicon Valley's darlings. You go IPO and Andreessen Horowitz or somebody else has reshuffled the deck. And now all of a sudden, they say that NVIDIA has created more millionaires in the last 24 months than any other company on the planet, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, that I believe that. I haven't said this. I haven't seen the statistic, but I 100% believe it because if you work at NVIDIA and you have any amount of stock, if you've been working there for any amount of time, it's gonna be worth a pretty penny. It's gonna be worth a pretty penny.
I guess moving away from NVIDIA into the smaller scale, what do organizations that feel overwhelmed by tech, what could they do to make it a responsible use of the tool like you're talking about now, you know? What can they learn from the NVIDIA example?
Well, NVIDIA is let's call it a purple unicorn. You know, a lot of things fell in place. Jensen did a lot of really good things. They were not that successful up front. They were very low. And then all of a sudden, this whole AI thing came into play, and then the stocks started taking off. And then it went on this rocket ship ride. And it was wonderful to see a company succeed.
They were losing server space for the first time in a really long time to AMD, right? And so the AI boom came, and then boom, all the way to the top, which as someone who enjoys consumer electronics a lot is like a pain. And as someone who is who really likes AI but is not really excited about the industry. I'm like, oh, I'm so conflicted. Everything is so conflicting nowadays. It's the problem.
Yeah, it's got its positive. Everything, life has got positives and negatives.
The silver lining, and you mentioned it earlier, and I mentioned it on this podcast anytime I can. I mention it to Victoria every time I can. Is at least this data centers thing. Well, I'm not American, so I'm not paying for it. And it's bringing nuclear back into the picture, which is a huge silver lining for me.
Clean nuclear, more efficient. They've done so many things to make sure it's more safe. It's amazing what they've learned in 20 years since the Japanese nuclear plant went offline because of the tsunami. It is growing. And the second thing that I really like, not only nuclear, natural gas. The United States has more natural gas than all the Arab world has of oil in it. And it's incredible what you can do with clean natural gas. It's outstanding. So between those two right there, get those regulatory permits ready and get invested in those. Hell, natural gas went up 50% because of this polar vortex thing that's going through the United States right now, which means it only went up from $3 to $5 per cubic. But it's
something.
Now that's still 2x, right? For a family living on paycheck to paycheck, that's a huge hit.
Yeah, and once we get solar figured out, the solar panels that we have right now are horrible. And I've got a side project called Charging Bunny. And all it is solar panels used to charge batteries for pumping into EV vehicles. And we never, ever take anything from the grid. We shoot it back to the grid at 12:59 every night. It gets sent to the grid, so it helps the grid, but it's one directional, not bidirectional. And once we start getting more and more of the cleaner, better solar panels out there that are consolidated, that can absorb more, we start putting those up around all over the world. It's going to be amazing what we'll be able to do with that beautiful ball of sun up there. Even on frigid days like this, you still have massive. If I open this curtain, you would be blinded right now. I have my sunglasses for my drive. It is gorgeous out. It doesn't have anything to do with the wind or the temperature. And wind is horrible. You're killing millions of birds every year and animals. It's horrible on the oil and gas exploration because building those things, transporting them, getting them set up, and then running them, people think that's great. No, if anything, instead of off the coast of these use the waves.
During our previous, literally our previous recording today, we talked about how people underestimate how much of a environmental cost there is to just logistics and moving things from point A to point B.
Yes.
But isn't that a place where AI is kind of hailed as a new solution? Where it's like, well, because we can't really measure the scales of these things and it's so complex, like large systems, like energy supply chains, isn't that where AI is like a pro?
Yes, that's where you use AI to start helping out with your logistics and your strategy on how you're going to move things, where you're going to move things, what should I build, how should I build it, what types of activity am I going to need around it. And that's a wonderful way to use it.
Yeah, it's a natural application to a real issue that we have on scope 3 emissions.
Yep, exactly.
Isn't like, wasn't there also a thing with like the wind energy that the blades aren't recyclable and it's really cost effective to move them once they stop working, so they just stay there.
They just literally leave it there.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, we were making reference to them before we got on. It's the Al Gore syndrome. I have a pretty PowerPoint and I was the Vice President of the United States. Listen to my words.
I think it's one of those conversations that is just tying it all the way back to the start. There's a lot of stuff we're talking about because we're clued in, but this isn't a conversation that you can just have at the pub, right? You're expecting people to have all this information, to know what you're talking about, to know who the people we're naming is. Well, it makes the conversation harder to have, even outside of jargon, just engagement with this topic. So what is one thing that if someone wanted to get into this and sort of start learning more, where do you start? Because I don't remember how we got here.
Start on Google or start with your favorite. So have your favorite AI tool interview you and ask questions back and forth about your favorite environmental topic or activities that you feel. And it will help you understand what is fact and what is fiction. Specifically ask it, please ask me 3 questions about my wind. Hey Gemini, I think that wind energy production is a fantastic use of environmentally friendly activity. Please interview me and let's have a conversation with 3 questions about wind turbine technology and how it affects us. I love being interviewed by my BFF, Gemini. Ask me 2 questions about this activity. Let's have a conversation about this. And I go back and forth with it. My wife thinks it's so funny because I'll read the question out loud or I have the voice app doing, it's like, who are you talking to in your office? Oh, Gemini, don't worry about it.
Okay, but well, here's another worry. Because you understand what the technology is, right? A lot of people don't, and they get dragged into speaking with AI and having back and forth with AI, and it sort of distorts their worldview in a very weird way.
Yeah, AI psychosis is something I'm really scared.
Yeah.
It's because let's be honest. You can ask it questions, and people take the first answer that comes to it. I always ask AI, Gemini, at some point in time, where did you get your facts from? Is this 100% accurate with the data in the known world? Have you made up any of this? If you continue to ask those questions with it, ask them the question, did you make any of this data up?
That is a great question. That is a great tool. Absolutely.
And again, it's what you were saying, knowing
happen.
how to use the tool, right? Because if you don't know that you have to do these things, that you have to keep pressing it, do all these things, you would just ask it, write me an email, and it writes you the email, and that's it.
AI is a good tool, but it's not a good tool like a calculator that gives a fixed output.
Correct.
It's too designed to talk to you, which means it'll make many mistakes. And I've had to correct it before, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I've never taken the first output of anything it gives me. I may go deep with it, and then I will circle back and I will ask questions, comments, make comments. Hey, Gemini, I have a concern about this statement you made on the third paragraph about X. Can you please prove to me that this is accurate?
Yeah.
Prove to me it's accurate.
Wow. I mean, okay, so this is one of the things, because to me, I'm a very people-focused person. I would rather get a wrong answer from you, and that's okay for me, because like you're a person, like that's fine, right? But there's so many things in automation specifically that AI allows in scale where humans are being replaced. We were talking about it earlier. What is the one place, if there is just the one place, where humans should never be fully removed from the loop, even as systems become more automated, more reliant, that, they stop having psychosis and telling you the wrong idea? Like, where can humans never be moved from?
Restroom attendant? Joke. I got you both laughing. Good. I don't want AI to ever replace anything when it comes down to the day-to-day, the real-life activities that we have where we need social interaction with each other.
Right, because the conversation you're having with Gemini,
that's a conversation between me and my autonomous tools. But social interaction, I will never have BFF. I will never fall in love like Joaquin Phoenix did in that movie with a voice or an Alexa, her. That was a great movie. And people started to think, oh, okay.
That would never happen.
That is not going to happen to me. Social interaction is so important for us as human beings to be able to thrive and to grow and to do the things that we need to do. So I don't want that to ever replace. Second of all, when we start getting to the point with the either the Tesla robots or the Dominion robots or dynamic robots, the dogs and all those, when we start getting to that point, what scares me on that one is, will it be too much of an interaction? I don't want that to be my human connection there either. It was a really good book that got turned into a movie. Everybody was wearing games and they're challenging the game.
Free Guy?
No, not Free Guy. I like that movie. That's Ryan Reynolds. This was a book and a movie wrapped around.
Ready Player One?
That's it. Player One.
Player One, yeah.
I really like that, but that also, look at how the only interaction you had was inside the game, inside your MetaMask.
That's why everyone was freaking out about the VR thingies and the Apple glasses.
But like at the end of the day, what's really interesting is like the metaverse failed spectacularly, and I'm kind of glad it did, and I thought it was really funny. And it burned through a lot of money because it really didn't understand what social interaction was, right? And
I don't mind it for video games and playing games in there and building games, but when you start using it as a social tool, social life, I should say. That's where Meta failed on that. I like other metaverses that are out there that are strictly video games and activities in there. You're not living in it.
Yeah, it's an immersion.
The metaverse
not
was just VR chat.
Yes.
The metaverse was VR chat with less features, essentially.
Yes. Great analogy. Oh, I love that.
I wanted to circle back to data centers because that's where AI works from, right? All this data. And we need the data for the AI to be better, of course. But the thing with data is, and it's the ethical issue I have, a lot of it is stolen. A lot of it is...
Oh, you mean from like writers and...
Well, so for example, I know that the fact that I'm on StreamYard, I have accepted the terms and conditions of it, and there's probably something in there that it can use my likeness to learn how to create an avatar, right? Those are things that we are signing up to unknowingly. I don't count that as stolen. I mean it more the actor that has access to the tool can then use the tool in ways that are misrepresenting or that are harmful to society. But the data itself, a lot of times, is underrepresentative of communities that maybe don't get a voice or people that aren't part of the conversations. All these risks that it poses. How do we know data is reliable? What makes data reliable? Because we're saying, oh, it's going to make the AI better if it's reliable, but who?
A great question, because right there, how do we know the data is reliable? Because you look at ChatGPT, people upload terabytes, petabytes, and petabytes of their data to figure out information, but they don't realize their competitor did the same thing. And now all of a sudden you've mixed your data with your competitor's data. How do you know whose is whose, what is what? That's why when I talk to people, I'm like, don't just upload your data in an Excel spreadsheet willy-nilly to ChatGPT. Everybody else did that in the beginning. Now you're screwed. Now your data is their data and they legally own it. Exactly. And that's part of their terms and conditions. If you upload anything, we own the data. It sits on our server. So you're absolutely right on that.
And that's what I worry about. How do we know it's reliable? There's also what data is being put up. So, there's a lot of issues or concerns, I must say, on surveillance and how are we training security AIs and models and algorithms like that. But even AI generated imagery, where is it getting the pictures from? All these things that are, how do we make it a responsible use of the tool?
Nano Banana probably has about 24 photos of this good-looking bald head up in it right now. And me and my team, we have some great pictures of me riding rockets, holding on tight. I'm riding different. Yeah, it's so much fun sometimes. But I chose to put, just like I do with my iCloud. Now, remember, iCloud and Google Cloud, and you upload your photos, that now becomes part of public domain as well, because we signed off on the terms and conditions on those, just as I'm doing with those activities. So at the end of the day, if we're giving our access away, we do that with Facebook. You upload any photo and you write an article, you do anything on the Facebooks and all, the Facebook. You can tell how old I am with Facebook. Boom. There it is.
Yeah.
End user license agreements are
EULAs
need a radical update when it comes to legislation.
You're going to have to legislate it because every one of those companies wants the data to use it, to sell it, to make it's a line item. How much money did we get from selling our data to these third-party companies? So you're right.
A big thing, not recently, but during the beginning of the AI boom to the mid section was Adobe suddenly saying, okay, now all of the stuff that you put on our cloud, that's my professional workspace where I do creative things, we're gonna feed into AI data sets, and it's gonna belong, because it will belong to us, which implies that it now belongs to them, and it also implies that they're going to use it for AI training, right? Which is a huge overstep, I feel.
And that's why a lot of people stepped back from that. And that's why I believe they had to, within a week, they had to say, oh, okay, my bad, we made a mistake.
Yeah, take it back.
they're very zealous, right? Like you have like many AI companies very openly admitting is like, well, we might have fed it information that wasn't, public, but that's the price we pay for progress. And it's just like, well, you should pay a price for that because that's not okay. And
downloading the entire Library of Congress free. Downloading the entire New York Times, not so free.
No, not so free, but they do. And another big issue, because they scrape everything, right? And so you are violating something there, right? Something human, right? And something that something non-corporate, which a lot of these people just don't understand, right? And it's one, it's unethical, and second of all, right, at some point, and here's an issue I have with how things are going. They sort of ran out of data to feed the AI, and a lot, because of the way they scrape the internet, it is being fed a lot of AI content, and AI inherently becomes sort of degenerates when it's fed AI during its training, right? And so that's going to be a problem that needs to be mitigated. Like there's so much about the ethics and just the overzealousness, like again, it's about being at that bleeding edge, right? That's the problem here. It's just not sustainable. It's really not. And it feels like it's detrimental to everyone. And what do you like? Let's make it simple. Like the EULA, right? Like, should they be regulated? Should they just have a complete overhaul on how we regulate them? Because they don't make any sense.
I agree. They should have done that a long time ago, though. I agree.
It's really interesting to me how optimistic you are and also how down to earth you are. I really appreciate it because the fact that you have all the information and you're both excited and aware of the concerns is very comforting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I try to be just a common sense individual.
And it comes out very naturally.
Oh, thank you.
I guess I wanted to close off with, in 5 to 10 years, how do you think AI will fundamentally change how climate work specifically is done, or any work in the sustainability sector?
Oh, I think it's going to be integrated quite a bit. You're starting to see things get integrated,
in a good or bad way.
I think it'll be in a good way because I think that people have good intentions. Mm-hmm. Maybe I could be pie in the sky attitude, but I truly feel that people have good intentions to better themselves, to better other human beings, and to better in the world all together. And for me, in 20 years, I'll be in my 70s. I really think that it'll still be a wonderful world. I still feel that we're going to have great people. We're going to have great discussions. Some people are going to be loud. Some people are not so loud. But at the end of the day, I think that we all want to do good for this planet. We all live on it. No matter what your color, your creed, your religion, your sexual, it doesn't matter. We all are on one planet, and it's the only planet we know of that sustains life. And we are one life altogether. So I really hope that everybody takes it and understands the betterment that we can all do to make this one planet so much better.
I love that. Thank you so much, Chris, for being on Tangelic Talks. Everybody, you can find some resources and a bit more about this conversation on the blog section at tangeliclive.org. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.
Let's talk power, let's talk change. From rural lights to brighter days. Equity rising, voices strong. We're building tomorrow where we all belong. Tangelic Talks, energy, equity, pride. Empowering the world, side by side. A spark becomes a fire, a vision that's true. Together we rise, it starts with you.